are alive and well in many ways. And that's not going away.
This is the North American Service broadcasting on 17.70, 15.42, 12.05.
Are you a worshiper of the devil?
What have you done to its eyes?
The next time you're frightened in the dark, don't scream.
They are not what they claim to be.
You're listening to Radio.
It's December. It's December.
Ding ding.
Why is it so far away?
Oh, because I wasn't ready.
Ding ding.
Ding ding.
Jingle balls, jingle balls,
Jingle
in my mouth.
Wow. It's like we have a psychic link.
Holy shit. We do have a psychic leak. Oh.
A psychic leak? Like a psychic anal leak?
Yeah.
An anal seepage?
Yeah. I'm here with Dom.
I'm here with Amber. It's Christmas time.
It's Christmas.
December.
It's Radio Wave.
Oh, yeah. It is Radio Wave.
Hi. This is Radio Wave. This is Radio Wave podcast. Don't forget to say, sometimes, I'm going to be real, sometimes we start recording and we'll talk for like 10 minutes without an introduction.
Yeah.
We'll just start talking and then we're like, did we even say who we are? Did we even say what this is? Did we even say what we're talking about? Dumb.
Do it then.
Sometimes I'm just dumb.
Do it then.
Okay, well, hi.
No, we said who we are.
Oh.
We just need to say what we're talking about.
Oh, shit.
This is part 1 of our Men in Black Files series.
I just want to say, when we did the Men in Black stories from season 1, when we mentioned a couple of them, I asked the Instagram if anybody would be interested in more Men in Black stories, and it was an overwhelming response of yes. Everybody wanted more Men in Black.
I must not have voted then.
Did you not want Men in Black?
I've never really had a super vested interest in Men in Black for some reason.
Really?
Like it was never something that I was super interested in. I'm more interested usually in like just actual alien encounter and not so much like the surrounding,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
But this series is very interesting. It's very good.
I don't know. I've always found it fucking crazy. And creepy. But, ugh.
I guess, I mean, since it's something that's never like involved me, I mean, aliens don't involve me either, but there's a higher chance of me encountering an extraterrestrial or engaging with something otherworldly than there is me meeting a Men in Black. Probably.
Yeah. I've had federal agents come to my door. I was at work when it happened, and Zach was at home, and he was leaving to go to work. And like a big black Suburban pulled into our driveway, and 2 dudes got out, and they were wearing like long coats. It was like nice out too. It was like maybe warm. It was weird, he said. But they walked up to him and they like showed him their badges. And he said that one of them looked like the guy from fucking Rushmore.
Jason Schwartzman?
Yeah, he said that one of them looked exactly like Jason Schwartzman.
Interesting.
And they were looking for a guy who used to live downstairs in the Horde house because he was federally wanted for stalking and impersonating a police officer and like all this other shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Yeah. Well, anyways, this is volume 1 of this series.
Oh, I thought you were going to say how many there are. Volume 1 of...
Oh, I don't know yet.
Oh, you don't even know yet?
Yeah.
That's how many there are, guys.
Yeah. There are, I mean, who knows? Because I keep finding really good stories.
We're going to be on Men in Black Files, Volume 43 by the end of the season.
Literally. Before we can even start, we have to go over what exactly we mean when we say Men in Black. We're obviously not talking about the Men in Black movies.
Or are we?
Will Smith. No, I don't know. Yeah. So we're not talking about the Men in Black movies from late 90s, early 2000s, starring Will Smith, who plays an alien racist cop turned alien lover by Tommy Lee Jones.
Did you watch the movie?
A long time ago when I was a kid.
Watch it again and reassess that summary.
I don't want to watch it again. It's too much.
Okay. I'm not saying it's wrong exactly, but
I'm assuming it's like iRobot. Like
it's not at all like iRobot. It's a very different movie from iRobot.
I haven't watched it in like 20 years or more.
So what is a Men in Black?
Well, they're the alien silencers. They're UFO silencers. They're mystery silencers.
They silence aliens?
They silence everybody about everything. Here's a quick description. They are a key figure in ufological high strangeness. They are agents from the unknown. Strangers, usually dressed in black suits and fedora hats.
Milady.
With a Men in Black. Have you seen anything Swain's lately? In the sky?
What about this? And they pull out a katana and they're flipping it around.
Okay, so they wear fedora hats because they're milady. But they have no association with any one government or military or organization, that they operate as their own entity. Their entire goal is to prevent the uncovering of the truth of extraterrestrial contact. Men in Black are known to gaslight and interrogate extraterrestrial witnesses, as well as use organized intimidation and threaten severe retaliation if witnesses do not cooperate with their demands. They are fucking weird. We believe that the Men in Black are kind of the neutral evil of the world of ufology, a group which is like constantly bouncing on the spectrum between lawful and chaotic, because they are so enigmatic and their behaviors do change. So also, we will be calling UFOs UAPs as much as we possibly can, because UAPs is the PC term now. And
Who's it offending?
The government, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And UAP stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, a UAP.
UAP. Need
Bring a bucket and a mop for this
this unified aerial phenomena.
So we have a ton of sources. We have some books by Nick Redfern, Timothy Green Beckley, and then also Last Podcast on the Left was a huge contributing factor to a lot of this information. They tell a lot of really weird stories and opened up a lot of doors for some sources too.
Quick note, I know it's a little hypocritical, but I don't listen to podcasts. I listened to like, because you were like, oh, you should listen to Last Podcast on the Left, listen to the Men in Black. They're really great. This was like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I listened to like maybe 20 minutes, maybe, when I was doing dishes at work. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's not bad. I can't listen to something for that long. I don't know how people listen to this, for God's sake.
You don't like, I mean, I guess like, I don't know.
I don't listen to podcasts. I'll listen to like documentaries while I draw. That's about it. I listen for 20 minutes and that's pretty good. That's more than I've listened to any podcast.
Yeah, including our own.
Yep.
Which is...
No, I've listened to full episodes before, like to make sure it was good, you know?
Yeah, and it wasn't.
It was shit.
It was shit. I hated it. I hate you. I hate what we're doing.
The little brown one's annoying.
Oh my God. No one says that.
I did.
Oh, no one has said that. If anything, everyone has told me that they think that you're beautifully attractive and hot and think you're very cool and like your art.
How can they tell from a voice?
Because they look at the podcast Instagram and they see your art page and they go, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That's what happens.
Okay.
I get it. Everyone's in love with Dom. She's so great. She's so hot.
Oh, you really loved me.
Well, also, like, I'm sure I'm really great and hot, but I have made a conscious decision to not be perceived.
Not physically appear, yeah.
Yeah, in the last, like, 5 years.
Keeps you mysterious.
Yeah. People say I have a nice voice, which is a
They're
lie.
wrong. No, we're both like, no. No, you do have a nice voice.
Oh, thanks.
But today we'll be covering the origin story of the Men in Black with Albert Bender, as well as the first documented encounters with the dark agents from Washington State in 1947.
Woo! Woo! I love Men in Black!
Yeah, I was like, what are you wooing?
I'm wooing for this.
You're just excited.
Yeah, I am.
So let's go back to June 21st, 1947. Navy man and lumberjack Harold Dahl claimed to have witnessed a group of That's a long one.
Just say UAPs. Say UAPs and MIBs.
No, I'm going to say UAPs.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Navy man and lumberjack Harold Dahl claimed to have witnessed a group of UAPs traveling over the East Bay of Maury Island, Washington, located in the southern end of Puget Sound. Dahl was captaining his boat when the event occurred. Crossing the water, he saw 6 UAPs in formation. However, one seemed to be unstable. The unstable UAP began to plummet toward the boat. That was when the UAP opened up from the bottom, allegedly dropping debris down into the bay.
Terrifying. I'm sorry. Could you imagine having a huge UAP flying towards you?
And then shit just dumps out. And you're like, ah.
You're like, it's out of control. Ah!
Yeah.
You're on a boat, nowhere to go. Fuck.
So the UAP swerved above the boat, dropping debris onto the deck. This debris consisted of lava rock or obsidian, as well as thin pieces of metal. The pieces of metal were nearly weightless and fluttered through the sky as if they were paper pamphlets. So they're very thin. They're like paper, but they're made of metal.
Yeah.
The lava rock, however, was hot. The debris crashed onto Dahl's boat. The debris allegedly broke the arm of a crew member, pummeled and burned his son, and killed their dog. Dahl immediately reported the incident to his superiors, and they said they would investigate. One superior, Fred Chrisman, would collect a bunch of the lava rock debris and the lightweight metal. So, the following morning, Dahl received a phone call from an unidentified man who needed to speak with him. It can be assumed that this person may have posed as an official, because they gained the immediate trust of Dahl. The man asked to come visit him at his home, and for some reason, without hesitation, Dahl agreed. The man arrived on his doorstep rather quickly. He was in a dark suit with a hat and appeared very covert, very low-key. The man said to Dahl that he wanted to talk about something that concerned both of them, quote unquote. And Dahl didn't...
Something like a relationship, maybe?
Maybe.
A love?
That would concern them, yeah.
Hey, we have to talk about us.
Or he's like, something that really concerns both of us, and it's like sports scores.
Oh.
He's like, don't you find that concerning? He's like, yeah, I really do.
I would think that he's like, hey, like, we've never seen each other.
But I think this might be for real.
I've been watching you, and I just need to talk to you about something that, about us.
We need to talk about us, Like, what are we?
What are we? Are we a situationship?
And the guy's like, who are you?
Who are you? Yeah, who? Did I just talk to you on the phone? Because didn't
you just call me like 30 seconds ago?
Literally?
Because literally, the guy says, can I come see you at your house? He says, yeah. And then the guy, like, basically immediately just appears on his doorstep. And
he looks so hot. He's got a bulge. Sorry.
Oh my God.
He's got a big bulge. And he's sensitive. Okay,
God.
sorry. And he's shy. Sorry.
Jesus. So he said to Dahl that he wanted to talk about something that concerned them both. And Dahl didn't know him. But when he was invited to breakfast by the man, he agreed. Again, just like for no reason. He's agreeing. And this isn't us being like, oh my God, that's for no reason. It's Dahl acknowledged like that he just kind of did it.
He just said yes.
Yeah, he just went along with things, even though that's not something he would normally do. But the man escorted Dahl into a jet black, brand new 1947 Lincoln Continental.
That's a
fine ass car.
He fucks in that car. He's like, ooh, are you gonna fuck me in this car?
Yeah.
In the
he like gets a boner when he gets in.
He's like falling in love.
Who wouldn't,
I don't know. If a dude pulled up to my door and was like, let's go to breakfast, we need to talk about us. And then he led me to a 1947 Lincoln Continental that just came out that year.
And you're like, oh.
I'm like, oh, he's gonna fuck me in that car.
Poppy, dumb.
He's like wearing a suit. He's so cut. Anyway.
Like his wiener's cut or?
Like his body. Like he's
got cuts on his body?
No, he's like buff. Like he's cut,
I know.
lean.
I was playing.
Okay, whatever.
So on the way to the diner, the man was tight-lipped about what he needed to discuss. He wouldn't tell him. Dahl knew it was about the UAP incident, but he had a bad feeling about the whole thing. They arrived at the diner, and as soon as they were seated, the man began to tell Dahl a story. This story was an extraordinarily detailed retelling of the event that Dahl had experienced the day before, and he told the story as if he was looking through Dahl's eyes. The accuracy was chilling. Dahl was shocked and in a, like, what the fuck kind of state.
Then the man was anticipating a different conversation, I think.
Yeah, he's like, how did you know about that?
Not about sex, but he was like, is that a cat?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Kitty wants to come in.
Should I let him in?
I don't know if it's... I mean, you could.
We're sorry. Please remain on the line.
Okay. Yeah, I think that he was expecting them to have a different conversation that, you know, not really about sex, but I think he thought that he was like from his company that he worked for.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
hey, what happened to everything yesterday? But instead he's like being fucking creepy as fuck and isn't going to fuck him.
What a shame.
I know.
So then the man said, "What I have said is proof to you that I know a great deal more about this experience of yours than you will want to believe." The man then sternly told him to keep his mouth shut about the ordeal. The man would insinuate that the safety of Dahl's family was at risk. He would passively explain that if he valued his family's well-being, he would do as he was told. So Dahl agreed to not speak about it again. Dahl believed the man was a crackpot, but also believed he could be dangerous. So the man left. He got up and left the diner. And Dahl just sat there alone in the booth processing what had just happened. 2 days after Dahl was visited by the suited man, a military pilot named Kenneth Arnold came forward with a story of his own sightings of UAPs. While flying near Mount Rainier, a group of UAPs followed his plane, then surrounded him, then took off. What was that?
My stomach.
Eat something.
I don't have any food.
Eat some of my muffin.
No, it's okay.
Eat some of my sandwich I have.
It's okay.
Arnold would hear about the Maury Island incident, which occurred only 3 days before. He caught wind that a lumberjack named Harold Dahl had seen everything up close and personal, so Arnold traveled to meet with Dahl in order to hear his story. Upon meeting Dahl, Arnold described him as looking battered.
Which is so fucking rude.
Well, I mean, if it's the best word you can come up with, I mean, shit.
He looked so battered. Like he had been fucked.
No! I mean, what is he going to say? Like, he looked world-weary and tired. He looked tired of the burden of his secrets.
Why would he not say that? He's like, he looked fucked. He looked fucked up.
Because he looked more than that. He looked battered, dude. He looked like somebody fucked him up.
It's a rude thing to say about him.
Dahl had been going through the worst time of his life since meeting... Why are you laughing?
Sorry, I don't know, because it's funny.
Since meeting with the suited man on the 22nd. Dahl was able to keep his job by the skin of his teeth, but his boat was in disrepair. His son was seriously injured, almost passing away, and his wife became very ill, and his dog was dead.
Literally.
With Arnold's sympathy, he asked Dahl to tell him what had happened. Only after lots of persuasion, Dahl finally told Arnold, and unfortunately, his story would get out.
Which is the exact opposite of what the guy who came to the door, the man in black, told him.
Yeah, he's like, don't fucking say anything. And then this guy's like, you can tell me. I'm not going to tell anyone.
And he's like...
And then he immediately tells everyone.
He's like, I need to get it off my chest. This guy broke my heart. He killed my dog.
Broke my hymen.
He broke my hymen. He made my wife sick. My dog is dead. My boat is broken. My heart is broken.
So sad.
So sad.
So Arnold spilled the stories to a sci-fi magazine called Amazing Stories on June 29th. By mid-July, Dahl's...
Should I feed him?
If he's hungry. By mid-July, Dahl's story became widespread, and Dahl was shaken up. His wife begged him to denounce his claim as a hoax, but it was too late. Not long after the story blew up, Harold Dahl and his family mysteriously disappeared.
Yikes. He was told not to say anything. Story got out.
And then they're gone. So Fred Chrisman, Dahl's immediate supervisor who investigated the incident, was also threatened by strange agents. It's not detailed, but it is assumed that he had been warned by the agents to stay quiet. According to a government informant, Chrisman was also contacted by the U.S. government. 2 high-level military personnel from the U.S. Army would be given orders to meet with Chrisman. Their assignment was to investigate and retrieve the debris from the UAP that Chrisman had collected. The military were meant to bring the debris to a California base via air travel. Chrisman cooperated and agreed to hand over the debris. After departing Maury Island, the military plane carrying the debris crashed and burned after catching fire. All 3 men on board were killed.
Okay, so do you think that they fucked?
Who? Who fucked?
Chrisman and the agents?
Why would they fuck?
I don't know, because Doll and the Man in Black fucked.
Why do they have to?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I would just think that they would.
So when you encounter an official, do you just have sex with them?
No, I haven't encountered many officials.
But if you did, you would have sex with them.
Well, it
From
just
the sounds of
depends. It just depends.
Okay.
Because they're like pulling up in a Lincoln Continental.
Oh.
They're like,
I
hey,
see.
we need to talk about us. Let me take you to breakfast.
Well, and these guys pulled up in a plane. So you're like rock hard.
Yeah. And then they crashed and burned.
Oh no. I loved you guys.
Which is
all three of you.
So terrible.
If you enjoy our podcast, please rate, review, and consider becoming a patron by visiting patreon.com/radiograve. Your patronage and support helps us continue to make content for you. You can stay up to date with us by following our Instagram account at Radio Grave Podcast, and be sure to tell all your spooky friends about us too. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show. After the summer of 1947, the Maury Island UAP sightings and the other UAP incidents in Washington would all be denounced. The U.S. military officially classified them as hoaxes. Dahl's initial blubbering and backtracking in the press, retracting his story, was eventually taken as truth. Plus, he and his family's sudden disappearance was too coincidental. Kenneth Arnold would go on to become a rather controversial figure in ufology, being perceived by some as a gullible sensationist and very open to the public eye. However, Kenneth Arnold would continue to go against the grain, and he never backed down about his encounters with UAPs or Dahl's experiences.
Do you think that now we don't use UFO? Do you think it's UApology? UApology?
UApology.
UApology?
No, they'll probably just keep it as ufology, but yeah, I can't think of a better term, so.
It's definitely not good.
Wapology.
Wapology. Get a bucket and a mop for this.
Wapology.
It's an old fucking reference anyway.
WAP?
Yeah.
How's that old?
I don't know. Didn't it come out in like 2020?
Hey, I gotta look it up. Yeah.
Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass pussy.
Oh yeah, 2020. Look at that. Anyway.
From the top, make it drop. That's a
I said
wop.
anyway,
That's
and then
a
you
wop.
kept going.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, a young man from Pennsylvania would find himself enthralled by Kenneth Arnold's story, and he became fascinated with the mystery of flying saucers and extraterrestrial contact. He would go on to fully devote himself to the research of finding the truth. But he'd get more than he bargained for, yeah. Oh, you love Albert Bender?
Yeah, I do. I do love Albert Bender.
You're in love with Albert Bender. He is your man.
I love him and I can't help it. He is so great. Look at his cute face. So, yeah, but we're talking about Albert Bender. So he was born in July. Oh, sorry. No, that's not true. He was born in June of 1921 in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. He served in the military in his 20s, and upon discharge in 1946, Bender settled down in Connecticut and shared his home with his stepfather. Don't know why him and his stepfather lived together, or if mom just wasn't, I don't know. So it's kind of interesting, but he quickly found a career that he really enjoyed, which was working in a factory setting as a chief timekeeper. He specifically worked at the Acme Shear Company, which was the largest manufacturers of scissors in America. So as chief timekeeper, he would just push the button and say, okay, stop shearing scissors and go home. Stop shearing scissors and go on lunch. That's all he did. Which sounds like a fucking boring ass job. But he was actually obsessed with time and clocks. It was his whole fucking thing. This is probably a neurodivergent trait, which came with his OCD. He had pretty bad OCD. And he was so obsessed with time and clocks that he kept 20 chiming clocks in his attic bedroom. And they all would go off every 15 minutes. They were winded to go off in unison. And he also had a very strict sense of organization, one of which that was his own and to his own liking. So not necessarily alphabetically or numbered. So he may sound like a nerd, but He was cool as fuck. At least to me. I thought he's probably the coolest person I've ever read about from this era. Because he loved otherworldly things and macabre topics.
Macabre.
Macabre.
Why are you saying macabre?
I don't know. Macabre. Macabre topics. That was hard for me to say. I can't say the T after that B. He liked spooky topics. He enjoyed horror and sci-fi movies and literature. And he had also turned his entire bedroom, the attic, into a haunted house. And he painted the walls with the faces of monsters and demons and ghosts and vampires. And he had everything decorated like from top to bottom with super spooky shit.
Nice.
Yeah. He began his official research into the UAP phenomenon in 1947. So only a year after he was discharged. And he was inspired to start his research after reading the testimony of Air Force Captain Kenneth Arnold, which we just talked about. So for 3 years, Albert obsessively researched into the paranormal, the occult, and ufology. There's a couple pictures that we have of Albert's bedroom and all the clocks and all the stuff he painted on the walls, and it is so fucking cool. What do you think of them?
I mean, it reminds me of like a 40s spook house.
Yeah. Very, very vintage style. Mm-hmm. Super artistic, super weird. I love him. So by 1950, in collaboration with a few friends, Bender established, I'm not going to call him Bender, Albert established.
You're on a first name basis?
Yeah.
You guys are getting pretty close.
I think so. Albert established the first UFO network ever, the IFSB, which is the International Flying Saucer Bureau. Love. And in 1952, the IFSB was finally able to begin their own publication, which they called Space Review. It was a little magazine. And Space Review leaned on the side of peaceful contact with aliens rather than fear-mongering. And Space Review was very successful and was published as far as the UK and Australia. So he was like kind of famous. The IFSB was kind of famous. So not only was he really cool, but he was famous.
Perfect for you. You always wanted someone famous.
Famous. But after only a few months after Space Review was in the hands of the public, the harassment began. Albert began to receive strange calls at first. And this is actually a pretty common theme in more Men in Black cases to follow for decades. The calls is kind of where it always begins. It's either calling to ask to meet, like we just talked about, or calling to ask for someone or just be fucking weird. But he would answer the phone and there would be basically no one there. And then after the calls, he began to feel as if he was being followed, but no one was ever really around. And one night after coming home from a movie, he opened his bedroom and he smelled a stank that was really, really fucking bad. And he said that it smelled like a pungent sulfur smell.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's demons.
That's demons. Yeah. Pungent sulfur. Sulfur is demon smell.
Yeah.
So is blood, I discovered. No,
oh, really?
Blood is poltergeist. Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
like iodine and blood.
Oh, interesting. Because I always heard that like sulfur and meat are demon, like rotting meat.
This is more like metal, like
like standing blood.
Yeah. So demons. And he smelled the stank, and in the dark, he saw a bright floating object. And when he turned on the lights, the shape just disappeared with the light, like totally gone. Like those scary movies where they turn off the light and there's like a demon standing there. So he went to his case files to see if he could find anything to compare it to, because he had all of these weird files about all of this kind of stuff. And he was like, well, maybe I can find something about floating objects, like what happened to me. But when he was going through his files, he realized that there was someone who had probably been in his room fucking around with his shit, because he had OCD and his files were always in a particular order. And this time they were all out of order. Like someone was pulling them out and then putting them back.
Yeah, he could immediately tell they were out of order.
Immediately. So after this, he continued to be harassed by phone calls. And then he began to be plagued with migraines. And that same smell of sulfur started to follow him. It was kind of transient. It would come and go randomly for no reason. And allegedly, poltergeist activity began to happen in his home, or at least objects moving. At this time, I'm not sure if poltergeist has the same connotation or awareness that it has now. We'll talk about this in a later series that we have where it's considered that poltergeists are not necessarily entities or caused by someone who's dead. Mm-hmm. But I think he was just experiencing things flying around. So he was plagued with migraines, poltergeist activity, and the smell of sulfur following him. And then within a few weeks, Albert would have his first encounter with a strange man in a suit. And this occurred while Albert was in a movie theater. As he watched the film, he felt like someone was watching him. And he looked over his shoulder to see that there was no one in the dark. He was kind of in this auditorium all on his own. And when he turned to look to the other side, he was met with a really frightening fucking sight. At the end of his aisle was a man crouching down in the dark between like the chairs at the very, very end. And he was just sort of like stunned by this man who was like hiding from him, but not really. And he described the man as having eyes that were glowing and pulsating. Ugh. Like, woo, 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 yeah, creepy. And he kind of shook his head in disbelief, like blinking and like, whoa. And when he looked back again, the man was gone.
Ew.
Yeah. So he would continue after this to see more men like this. Maybe not with glowing eyes, but men in suits. He said they were usually attempting to obscure themselves as they watched him, maybe like ducking behind a corner or like standing behind a car, shit like that. And then he started to see them in his house because he would wake and see figures in the form of shadows roaming around his room at night. In theory, this kind of is similar to the Hat Man, like a black shadow figure with a hat appearing in your room all the time. It's kind of Hat-man-y.
Hat-man-y.
Hat-man-y. Hat-man-y. And he also like has an illustration that he did, which is pretty terrifying. And I included it and he looks so proud, but it is a guy with like a black face, like he's a shadow and a black hat and a little tie, black, everything. But his eyes are white and his lips are like white.
Maybe that's his teeth.
Yeah, it looks like maybe his mouth is open and it's his teeth.
Scary.
It's hard to see. I think it might be his teeth. It's not as black face as it sounds. I'm going to be real. But
yeah, it's just like a man who everything is black and then his eyes are white.
Yeah. Ugh, it's weird to look at. So the worst part about his experiences with seeing these hat men, with seeing these possible MIB, is every encounter would result in him feeling so sick to his stomach that he was on the verge of vomiting and had migraines.
Yeah.
Which is like, yikes. I don't know, maybe out of fear.
I mean, probably, yeah.
Or a physical response to the encounter. After a year of this harassment, everything would come to a head when Bender would have a visit with men that weren't really from afar. They weren't shadows. They weren't appearing as balls of, whatever, as balls in your mouth. Yeah. So he was home alone when 3 men in black suits and Hamburg hats, which is, I think, kind of like boulder hats.
Bowler hat?
Bowler hats. Boulder hats. I think they're kind of like bowler hats. They came to his door and they knocked. And when he answered, the men sort of just let themselves in. It's more common that men in black are invited in, but people don't know why they invite them in. When he answered the door, basically these men kind of came in quickly. And he says that when they entered his home, they brought with them like a heaviness, like a dark aura that sort of like filled his house. with actual visual darkness, which is very like spirit demonic sort of vibes.
Yeah.
Have you ever like been in a house that's haunted where it's like everything seems darker than it really is?
Not really. You know, I'm not sensitive to haunted things.
I only ever felt it at like one place. Even with the lights on, I would walk into that place and it was like dark. Like every corner was dark. It was weird. So basically, this is kind of what Albert experienced. His whole house became dim when they entered. And he honestly felt out of control in the company of these men, like weak. And he claimed that these men began to speak to him telepathically.
Ooh.
And according to Albert, they told him that he was to cease his research on UFOs immediately. They said, "Phew." That's me sending you a message.
Oh, and then I went,
Yeah. They were
That's
like,
my brain.
Yeah. They said, you have to shut down the IFSB and discontinue your magazine. And they communicated, I'm going to do Men in Black voice.
Okay.
You have dedicated your life. No, I'm not going to do it. I can never do it. I like to do it. And when I do it, I like to do it in kind of California surfer. You have dedicated yourself to the solution of the strange problem of unidentified objects into your atmosphere. Your interest is deep and sincere, and you have devoted many hours to it. We also know that such interest and determination might lead you to something that could bring you great harm.
Oh my God.
So like, oh my God, sounds like they're kind of hanging loose.
I mean, when you read it like that, yeah.
Their balls are hanging loose, free balling. They're ghost balls.
What?
I don't know. So basically they were like threatening him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after this, the men quickly split up. They started running around his house, going room to room, and they were tearing through every drawer and desk and closet in search of copies of Space Review. And Albert just sort of stood there in disbelief as they confiscated his magazines, menacingly. And once they were done, they all congregated again in the living room, and right in front of Albert's eyes, the men disappeared. And when they poofed away, they left a weird yellow cloud of smoke and this pungent smell of sulfur. They basically turned into a cloud of fart.
Oh, fart air.
Yeah, fart air.
We're like, thanks, buddy. And then
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Literally, yeah. What, it's fucking assholes. They're like, poof.
They like tear through your house and threaten you, and then they shit in your living room and leave stinky
like,
yellow gas. Like, oh my God,
Your
it smells
eyes
like
are
shit in
your
here.
eyes are burning. Your tongue is swelling. You're throwing up. You have a migraine. You're shitting and pissing.
That's awful.
Yeah. So Albert knew he had no other choice. He had to shut down Space Review. Unfortunately, the magazine itself had only run for a little over a year. They had a huge fan base too. So it's such a shame. I don't know. Maybe I should try and find a copy. I do love ephemera. But he did put out a final issue. And within this issue, there was a missive. And it read, "The mystery of the flying saucers is no longer a mystery. The source is already known. But any information about this is being withheld by orders from a higher source. We would like to print the whole story in Space Review, but because of the nature of the information, we've been advised in the negative. We advise those engaged in saucer work to be very cautious."
Fair, yeah.
So, I mean, I should be very cautious. What if?
I think since you're just, it's probably a lot harder for Men in Black with the internet because a lot of people are interested in this.
Right.
And as long as you're not saying anything you've seen firsthand, I don't think they're gonna.
Right. I did talk about my first UFO experience, the 9/11 one. So if you don't know, the first time I saw a UFO, I was a child and I thought it was a plane and that my house was going to get 9/11. Not that 9/11 was my first UFO experience. I felt like that sounded kind of crazy.
Thank you for the clarification for the listener. Yes.
Yes. So Albert further completed the instructions from the agents. He ceased his research and disbanded the IFSB as well. And then that October, he married a woman named Betty Rose, the luckiest woman in the world. And the two of them were perfect for each other. I'm so sad I wasn't there. I'm probably like the result of I'm probably their child. Let's be real.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe. She was also a complete weirdo, and she had tons of stories to share. She claimed that she had also been visited by supernatural personages, and she also claimed to be a victim of spectral hauntings for most of her life. She was really interesting too. She was a ghost lady. And although Albert Bender tried to move on with his life, one of his fellow members of the defunct IFSB took Bender's research and his story of the MIB and ran with it on his own. And his name was Gray Barker. And he would go on to publish his own book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers.
It's a good name.
Yeah. And in his book, he covered the IFSB research as well as Albert's encounters with the three suited agents, the FART agents. So Gray Barker would be the first to call these figures the Men in Black.
Gotcha.
And then years later, Bender would publish his own book, which was called Flying Saucers and the Three Men. And that was in 1962. He dedicated his book to his wife, and it says, "To Betty, who came to me by way of the saucers."
You love that.
I love that. I love him. Poet. Okay, so I'm so sad. He's not even alive anymore either. So Bender would retell his own accounts with the Men in Black, basically in his own words. He also wrote about his paranoia at the time and the fact that he was not only approached by Men in Black, but also by federal agents. And these agents, like the Men in Black, told him to stop his research and disband the IFSB. His book gives a lot of clarity in regards to his perspective of his own Men in Black encounters. And it also cleared the air about the high strangeness of some details of his encounters. So clearly, Gray Barker had sensationalized parts of Albert's story when really he was like, yeah, I thought I was being followed, but maybe a lot of these MIB that were in public that were ducking behind corners and hiding behind cars were just federal agents, police officers in suits. But the other stuff is like kind of gray. Maybe
Gray Barker.
It's kind of implied that there was some mental illness happening. He did have really bad OCD. It could have been serious meltdown era for him. But he did get married right after, so maybe his balls were just like ready to burst and it was poisoning his brain.
What the fuck?
So anyway.
What?
Gotta get that poison out. Here's an interesting thing, though. Albert would also tell a story in his book, which is really fucking out there. He clarifies a lot of stuff about the Men in Black, and then he fucking goes off the deep end with this one. So he wrote that the three Men in Black who entered his home had come back later on and abducted him. And these Men in Black took him away to a secret alien base in Antarctica. And at this alien base, the Men in Black told Albert that they were not human and that they only appeared to be human. They inhabited bodies which they had stolen from humans, somehow wearing them as suits. That's what these Men in Black told him. And so these Men in Black aliens told Albert that Earth was unlike other planets because our planet was nothing but suffering and chaos, which is not wrong.
It's accurate, yeah.
Yeah. And they also explained that Earth had a special resource which they used as a power source for travel. And that specific resource was Earth's ocean water.
They probably can't get around anymore.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense. A lot of the times, a lot of communication that has to do with extraterrestrials is always like, hey, you guys need to be better about the environment because like we're using you. We're using your resources, a resource you don't even care about, to travel through space and time. So can you like stop
No, I'm gonna put Trash Island in the ocean.
Trash Island. Trash
Woohoo!
Island. Trash Island. I love Trash Island.
The aliens are like, no, no Trash Island. Stop it. That's my gas for my car.
Literally. I'm like, can you just take the trash with you? And can you suck it up into your UFO and then drop it on a family?
They're just gonna drop it back out. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, okay, that UFO was dropping their own trash into the ocean. Okay, that
fucking bigot.
That UAP was dropping its own fucking garbage into the ocean. So they're fucking hypocrites.
That was a lake. They can drop. They're gonna fill the lakes with trash so they have more ocean room. Duh.
Okay, I didn't even think about that. Anyways, they were like, "Hey, we love your water," and and then they literally shed their human skins in front of Bender to show their true form. And he would say that they were basically beings that we know to be the Flatwoods Monster of West Virginia. If you've never seen a photo, or well, not a photo, but if you've never seen what the Flatwoods marker, the Flatwoods Monster looks like, we'll put it up on the Instagram. He's wearing a skirt. He's like part robot, and he has a pointy hat on.
It's like a big spade.
Yeah,
on the back of his head.
He looks angry. Why'd they give him angry eyebrows?
He looks high fashion to me.
He's like, he has like little claws. He's like, eh. But he's like huge, like giant things. So the aliens would send Albert back to his house, and they left him with another warning, and they told him to keep their meeting a secret and acknowledged that this would be a difficult thing for him to do. They're like, look, we know you're fucking blabbermouth bitch. We know that you are unwell mentally. So how about you just shut up? Don't tell people about this. And that'd be great. Thanks. And then they told him, by the way, we made it so you'll get migraines every time you even think about this. They're like,
that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be wrought with migraines and headaches if he ever thought about saying anything, or if he even thought about it in general. And then they threatened him, and they said that they could do worse than headaches. I think they threatened to kill him, just like how they killed Dahl.
I don't know about that.
What was his name? Harold Dahl. Arthur. They're all Harold Dahl, and the other one was Howard Arthur. Who fucking knows? Doesn't matter. Well, it does, but fuck it, whatever. So they just told him to keep his mouth shut, or else they'd kill him. And then, for some reason, years later, he wrote about it in his book.
He's like, danger's over. It's all right.
Yeah. And then he lived to be an old man. He lived a long time. His wife is kind of scary looking as an old woman. I will show you a picture later. But for now, discussion points. For the first story, why do you think that the UFO had metal and lava rock inside of it?
I think I've talked to you about this in previous conversations that weren't recorded, but I think it could be just like refuse that they have. I mean, I know they said that they use water as a resource, so it could be that they are taking other things and squeezing resources out of it and then leaving the husks or whatever, or like, you know, there's rock left behind,
right,
or metal, like thin pieces of metal. Maybe they're like eking out specific things or parts from these things and then just like leaving, like just dumping the rest. They're like, I don't need that shit way down my ship.
Maybe.
Sorry about your dog. Look out.
Literally.
Look out below, guys.
Maybe also too, like, because it's not entirely clear what exactly the rocks were, but they're all having to do with volcanoes, obviously. And then Arthur did see the kind of same formation near Mount Rainier. And I think Mount Rainier is still active. And Mount Rainier to Maury Island is only 75 miles away, which is like nothing in airtime. So maybe they were getting stuff from Mount Rainier. Maybe they were picking up shit. Maybe there's like resources that we don't understand or know that are inside of the volcano.
Yeah, that's a big general trouble with aliens to me, is that we don't, there's no way to know or understand their motivations for things because we don't know anything about them or their technology.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I mean, and there's also like lots of evidence of UAPs going into water, specifically the ocean. And those are called USOs, which are unidentified submerged objects. And USOs are actually way more common than people think. There is a lot of UFO activity or UAP activity that does happen around mountain ranges, in isolated areas, in the ocean. Some people think that they might be underground. There's a lot of shit. So, next question. What do you think happened to Harold Dahl?
Either they got killed by MIBs or federal agents, which I don't think is true. Or his wife was like, yo, I'm sick of this shit. Like, we're going incognito. We're changing our names and we're moving. And he was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, you're a dick. And your new name is Dick. Dick.
Dick Dahl.
Dick Dahl. No, he would have changed his last name too. Yeah. I think that's more likely that they were just like sick of it.
Dick Piper.
Dick Gobbler. What do you think happened?
You know, it's hard to say because the 2 military agents mysteriously crashed and burned, right?
3.
Oh, the 3. Yes. The 3 mysteriously crashed and burned. And there was a FOIA that released the document that went over it when it happened in 1947. And the subject of the actual fucking document is flying saucers, which is interesting. And it says there's some stuff that's like censored out of it. It's kind of hard to read. It does talk about how they were flying and they allegedly had some debris that was from an alleged UFO and that they crashed and burned, but they said that they did not find the debris, the alleged debris that they had in the thing. So maybe if we're really going to go out there, if we're going to pull Albert Bender style, maybe the debris was on the plane and then the UFO shot down the plane and everybody crashed and burned.
Oh my God.
The plane caught on fire while they were in the air too.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, they knew that happened. So maybe Albert could have been part of like a witness protection situation.
You mean Harold?
I mean Harold, sorry.
Okay.
Maybe Harold and his family were part of a witness protection situation.
Could be, yeah. That's a lot more interesting than his wife just being like, fuck you. We're moving to Minnesota.
I mean, they could have. I mean, if we're using the Men in Black excuse, if they were publicly able to kill these 2 agents on the plane, like why would they not worry about the 3 agents? Like why would they not give a shit about killing a family and staging it? Who knows? They don't really kill.
Well, that's assuming that they did crash the plane.
Right. Who knows? Maybe I think they went to Minnesota. Okay. I'm very serious about this next question. Do you think that Albert Bender is hot?
No.
Why?
Not really. I just I'm not into. He's like old and dead.
No, I mean like young Albert Bender.
No, I don't think he's hot. I don't think I could get along with someone who has alarms going off all the time.
You guys both have OCD.
Yeah, I don't know if that always meshes well. But I know you're waiting for me to ask, hey, Amber, do you think Albert Bender is hot?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because look at his face. Look at his handsome face.
Look at his face and look how lucky his wife is.
I like his glasses and his hair.
And his house.
And his house and his room. If he brought me over to his house, I would be like so slay.
You'd be boner fide.
I'd be boner fide. I would literally marry him. Like it's 1947. I'm like less than 20 years old. Marry me. That's when they all got married anyway. So yeah, I mean, marry me. He's an artist.
You could deal with the clocks going off every 15 minutes.
I would cope. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd cope on my own. I'd wear headphones. I'd deal with his like manic meltdowns and poltergeist activity. I'd marry him.
Okay.
And obviously you wouldn't. You'd divorce him.
Well, no, I wouldn't marry him.
You'd divorce him.
You can't divorce him if you don't marry him.
Okay.
So.
You'd get like a no contact order. You would like...
No, he's not like that. I'd probably be friends with the guy because I would probably be just as interested in those things back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. Do you believe Albert Bender had these encounters with the Men in Black.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Why not? I mean,
even the sulfur ones with the space review.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disappearing and reappearing in smoke. I mean, these were some of the first ones to happen that we know of.
I don't know if they actually happened, but something happened that he perceived to be that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the aliens in Antarctica?
That is harder to believe, I think, because why would they do that?
I don't know.
Because they're like, don't fucking, they come up to him, don't fucking say anything. I'll kill you. And he's like, okay, oh my God. And then they're like, here's more information.
Don't say anything.
But also don't say anything because we'll kill you. And he's like, why are you telling me more?
Right. Because I think what happened was there was a correlation between Gray Barker putting out his book and then they came back and got him and were like, yeah, you really want to know the fucking truth?
That doesn't seem like something an extraterrestrial would do.
But what if it's something that a Man in Black would do, who is actually secretly Flatwoods Monster vibes? What if all Men in Black are Flatwoods monsters?
I mean, are Flatwood monsters like malicious like that? Are they like vindictive? Do they go out of their way to make people suffer?
We'd have to look more into it, but a lot of people think that the way that they look is like a uniform or like a spacesuit. Mm-hmm. But it's like if they're already wearing human suits,
why are they uniformed?
Why are they wearing?
I mean, I guess amongst each other, maybe show rank or whatever.
Yeah, they're like made of metal, kind of. I believe we could always do a series of just West Virginia fucking cryptids because West Virginia only has cryptids, and that is it.
Like Chris Chan,
like Moth. There's so many. There's literally like too many.
Sonichu.
Ugh, gross. And then I know this is kind of like something I only mentioned briefly, but what do you think of the correlation between the Hat Man? Because that's actually a pretty common belief even now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't put any credence in it. I don't think it's connected.
Yeah.
I think a hat's a hat, and especially back then, people wore hats.
Yeah.
Very regularly.
Yeah.
So, like, much more than now would they wear a bowler hat or a fedora. So.
Right. And we'll talk in future episodes about different modern appearances of alleged Men in Black figures. And they do be fashionable.
They do, sometimes.
Yeah.
They be adapting.
They do be adapting.
That bitch adapting, though. Dude, sladapt.
You know what, actually? So, how about this? How about radiogravepodcast@gmail.com? You guys will do it too. Create a piece of art. Not even a good one or a bad one. Just draw what you think Men in Black look like from these descriptions that we have from these two stories. I'm really excited to do the Flatwoods Monster taking off the fucking Man in Black suit.
Oh, God.
Maybe I'll collage it. I don't know. Yeah, draw your renditions of what you think these Men in Black characters look like. There are more to come, and I think it would be really, really fun for us to do. And then everything that you guys submit will like put in a master post, a masturbates on the Instagram.
Instabates.
Mastergram. What do you think of that? Is that a good idea?
Sounds good, and not like something we came up with in a later episode.
Yeah.
We're time travelers. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Send in your drawings. Send in your little collages. Send us your art of what you think these fucking Men in Black look like. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of our Men in Black files.
Wait, what is that? Hello?
Are you waiting for someone?
No.
Go get the door.
No. Oh my God. Are you waiting on someone? Did you invite someone over? This isn't our house.
Hope there's no Men in Black on the other side of that door. Hope we haven't said too much.
We probably have. Oh my God. We need to go answer the door.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Catch you next week. Bye.
I guess pray for us. See you next week. We have to go answer the door. Oh my God. Goodbye. Goodbye.
We're coming.
At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere. It is speculated that these objects are of extraterrestrial origin. The broadcast will quiet at this time for your safety. Continue to carry out the following instructions.
Radio Grave Podcast is hosted by Amber Byland and Dominique Makasuya. Music courtesy of AOA Music, Carl Casey at White Bat Audio, and intro music by Simon Big Byland. Audio mixing and editing by Amber Byland, logo and original art by Dominique Makasuya. Special thanks to Selma and Obi Henneke, Austin Smith, and all our supporters on Patreon. All other media and sound clips used are protected under fair use and are for the purpose of criticism, commentary, news reporting, education, and research. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.